And it says it's preparing Zoom to YouTube, the Zoom having an API that connects to YouTube, so you don't have to put any special keys available to click. It says it's done. It's trying to log in, and of course, when I'm going to be doing this, it will be perfect. Okay. So this says this meeting is being live streamed, right? Everybody got that? So it looks like we're ready to go. Okay. So Gabrielle, welcome. Andrew James and Adam Thomas, your cameras, getting it up and running. Okay, any questions up to now? So we started talking about collaboration. We looked at a number of collaboration programs. One of them, of course, was Zoom that we had here. And we talked about recording to the cloud, meaning another company's server that we can get access through a browser. We also talked about then basically broadcasting it live with an API. And in this case, if you have Zoom as a professional version, it will give you the capability to do it to Zoom live. So Adam Thomas, I don't see your face here. I see half of your face. Perfect. And Andrew James, I don't see your face. We have that. Then the second thing we did, we said not everything gets recorded into Zoom. The advantage, we can also do in Zoom, we can do speech to text, right? When we do speech to text, we can do captions. That's part of artificial intelligence, right? Trying to understand someone's voice and language and converting it to text. So that has built-in voice to text transcription. And then we talked about things that you couldn't do in Zoom, for instance, breakout rooms, you couldn't record. So in this case, we asked for an assignment to do screencasting programs or screen recorders for your computer and also for your phone. We talked about operating systems. And we talked about operating systems, for instance, for the Mac, different versions of the Mac OS. OS stands for, in this case, Colin, what? What is OS? When somebody says Mac OS or iOS, what's OS stand for?
I'm not positive. Is it just operating software?
System. Yeah, okay. Operating system. OS. They just shortened it. You knew it all the time, right, Colin? When they said iOS, you just didn't think about what was, they're just abbreviating it, right? So it's just that iOS, it's basically, and why is that important? It's important because programs have to be written, application programs have to be written for specific operating systems. That's the key. So where do you go to download apps for your phone, Colin?
The App Store.
The App Store, right? And what does app stand for? Applications. So application software, right, that runs on certain operating systems. And you have to go, if you have an iPhone, if you went to the Google Play, would that work? And downloaded those apps? Some apps are the same, right? But it'll just be Google Play or the App Store for iOS. Will they work? What do you think, Colin?
No.
No, it's incompatible. Should they work? Yes. Anybody hear about Apple's new phone? John, did you hear about it?
Oh yeah, I read about it yesterday.
Good.
A little
What's
bit,
new?
not much.
Okay, but what's new?
Well, don't recall many details, but I'm assuming they're implementing AI. Otherwise, they're going to fall behind in the current market.
Yeah,
So,
they are. And what else? What is new? Anybody know? We can even search it. Search it now on the new Apple and tell me what are they thinking is there. Some people were saying it's not as, they have all the features, maybe, the camera probably, I bet is more advanced, right? Guess what? The CPU, remember we talked about central processing unit, John? That's going to be more powerful, right? To run faster, to run more complex programs. What else?
The charging port is changed.
Yes, Ryan, the charging point is changed to what? From what to what? Let's find out. We know none of us are sure, right? Apple, I'm not an advisor to Apple. Apple didn't tell me what their changes were. So you look it up. Everybody look up how is the charging port different in the new phone of Apple versus the old versus every other phone?
It went from a lightning cord to a USB-C.
Okay, Seb, it went from a lightning cord to USB-C. And what do we always do in this class? Not only try to find out what the words are, but when we got to figure out what does that mean, right, Seb? And the third question I always ask is who cares, right? Because just to impress our friends, Colin said, you know what OS stands for, operating system, they go big deal. They say something else, but they'll say big deal. But the question is, why do we care? Why do we care what operating system is? Because it depends on what software we want to run. How many of my people are finance people here? Raise your hand. Whole bunches, right? I almost have a majority of finance. And guess what? There are a lot of fintech programs. There are a lot of trading programs, and some trading programs run on Windows. So unless you have Windows installed on your Mac, it won't run. That's a problem, right, John? Somebody gives you in work, they say, okay, do this forecast, come up with some algorithm. You say, I have Mac. There shouldn't be any problem. I'll download what this program is. And guess what? It won't work. So we got to figure out ways to work around that. So now, Seb, you said a great thing. It went from, the charging port went from Lightning to USB-C. And why, and what's the difference, and who cares? Seb, got any ideas?
The USB-C, that's also compatible with the Mac, and then like almost every other phone.
Right. Other phones other than iOS. And guess where this was initiated? This was initiated from the European Union. And the European Union said, hey, you guys can't just have proprietary. We want things to be generic. So when somebody has a so they've standardized on the USB-C. So if somebody had, for instance, an Android phone, their charger would work with another. Someone else had for their other laptop, they would have it. So the USB-C, that charger, that input and output, right? To be able to charge, to be able to transfer files. Sometimes you can transfer physically from your phone to basically another computer or to another phone, can be done wirelessly, but it also can be done via those cords and being the charge. Excellent. And if you looked at anything else they did, it was exactly what we've been talking about. What did they improve? The CPU, they've improved faster processing speeds. They got a better camera, and if I get all these upgrades, I'm going to have to have a faster chip. I'm going to have a faster CPU. Questions? Okay. And Ashton and others on your cameras. Let's go. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. And we'll look at our assignment for this week that's due today. Right? And I want this assignment to be don't want this. Go from this. So what the first thing we see is what? Colin, you look great online. That's the first thing, right? And Drake, right? And Lily, we got everybody up there. That's great. And we have even someone in a hoodie. Okay, so that I know I'm streaming well. Yesterday, I don't know what the issue was. Remember, they said private. I don't know what the problems were. So let's do this. Let's go to, this is my regular one. This is my GH. Now let me see if I can go to, let's see here, GH. And I want to go to, if it gets stuck, right, I can go to the left here and I can go to groups. And under groups, we'll start with group 1 with Andrew Franco, the other Andrew, Elliot, and Catherine. If we go to group 1, we'll see here the screencasting folder that they did. And this is what everyone should have. You can do this even now with your group. If you don't have it here, you can put this in. Just like we had the Zoom, I saw who attended and the key points. Here, I saw attended in the Zoom meeting, in the screencasting. And in the screencasting folder, this is the group and this is the individual. So this is really full credit application homework. So it's the individual, it's the front where it lists everybody who was in the recording, what they used, the name of the person, the program, the operating system compatibility. This is going to be key. If it's in a browser, I can use in any browser. If in OBS, notice nicely, Andrew put in Windows 7, 8, and 10, Mac OS, what versions, Linux. If you do not have this, go back to the documentation, go back and search it. And there's so many ways now to search, right? The supported file formats. And in this case, notice you have many file formats. Probably the most popular are MP4 and MOV. You even put the audio. And then storage primarily saves on your computer's local storage. However, you can configure it to save recordings on the cloud, such as Dropbox and Google Drive. Excellent. You remember we talked to, so this, in this case, John, storage options, when he says saves the computer's local storage, what is that called? Primary or secondary storage? If I was asking on a quiz, John.
I would probably say primary because it's not long-term.
Okay. What do you think, Ryan? Right now, Andrew said OBS Studio primary saves recording on your computer's local storage. What do you think, Ryan?
I kind of
Is that primary or secondary storage?
primary.
Okay. And what do you think? And why primary?
Because it saves to the computer.
Okay, saves to the computer. You remember yesterday? Let's repeat. This is a great review then. What did we say yesterday? It seems like yesterday, but it was a couple of days ago. You remember we talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about primary storage and secondary storage. It's confusing because you would think it'd be primary storage, and that's what? What do you think, Seb? Primary refers the
You'd think
recordings
it's
that
like
are
the main storage.
right. primary storage, another term for it, you can think about it, John and Ryan and everyone else, is a lot of times we call it memory. Sometimes we call it RAM. You remember that? You remember that, Ryan? Random access memory. And we talk about it being volatile or non-volatile. Seb.
Volatile.
Volatile. Volatile. And what does that mean? It means that it can be erased. Not only can be erased, but doesn't remain. So after I finish the program and close the program and close all my programs, it disappears. But when I'm doing a screencasting program, John, when I'm doing a screencasting program, and Andrew said that OBS can save it to the local memory, right? Local storage, he said, not memory, local storage. Would you want to save? Would you want it to be as soon as you turned off your computer to go away? If you did a screencasting program, think about that logically.
No,
You would want to save it. So that's called, when he says save to local storage, that's called secondary storage. Sometimes you can think about it, it's like your hard drive, right, John? You can think about it like a thumb drive. I mean, you have something like that, John, of course, right? You can do that, a thumb drive. All this is secondary storage. And even the cloud version, if you can do Dropbox or Google Drive, those are going to be secondary storage. But these hard drive, right? The hard drive is going to be on one's computer. This is going to be that hard drive. When I'm going to save it to my hard drive, I can think about it as saving when computer is turned off. Secondary storage not only is when the computer's turned off, when I turn back, it is called then non-volatile. That it remains. This does not remain. You see this? This remains when computer shuts down. Can be retrieved. Is that clearer, John?
yes.
So always when you think about, you want to save it. But when I'm using a program, let's say you're going to be typing in Word or you're going to be using Excel, you're taking a copy of that Excel from wherever it's residing, and the computer, the operating system, is making a copy of that application program and bringing it into primary storage or secondary storage. You want me to repeat the question, John?
I mean, I would say secondary storage because if your files are saved
okay, my
on
files
your
are
computer.
saved, but listen to what I'm saying. Let's repeat it. Let's say I'm going to go and do a PowerPoint, right? You bring up a PowerPoint, right? I'm bringing up or even this is my notepad here. I'm using this notepad here to make comments. Do you see my notepad here? Right now, when I'm running Notepad, I'm operating Notepad, right? As I'm putting in notes into Notepad, this application is running in primary storage. A copy of Notepad from, let's say, my hard drive is put into my RAM. And another term for RAM is primary storage. That copy is there because I can work quickly in it. But once I say file, save as, and I give it a name, right? Let me, in this case, I don't want to do this. Let me just cancel. And if I gave it a name, let's put in a new date here. What's today's date? Is the 13th, I bet. And what day is it? It's Wednesday, right? And let me just copy this line here. Let me just do this here, hardware, software. I'll copy this entire line. I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to say file. You're with me, John? Save as. I'm just going to put it right here. Doesn't matter. I'm saving it to some drive under documents. And I click save, John. Where will it be saving? The primary or secondary?
Oh, you're saving as a file, your secondary.
Exactly. But I'm using Notepad, taking notes in the primary, in RAM. It's confusing, isn't it? Just the terminology. You know that almost instinctively, right, John? When you're using a program, you know you have to save your work, right? You've always known it, but you thought about it. I saved it to hard drive. You never thought about the term primary and secondary. And what I'm trying to bring to you when you read the book, when you look at those concepts, when people say that, sometimes people get confused when they say, how much primary storage do I have? They'll use how much secondary storage they have. Or they'll say how much memory they'll have. They'll say, I have 2 terabytes. And they're not talking about RAM, they're talking about secondary storage. So that just gets confusing. That's why I wanted to emphasize it to you. So going back to this, then you can see this is how you want to do you want to correct your portion, John, when you did it by putting just like that in bold, the name, the program. He's done the operating system. Why is that important? Because later on, let's say I'm using Windows and I need to get a screen recording. Hey, I can figure out, Andrew figured out OBS can do it. OBS is quite popular. Why? Because it can run on many operating systems. Another operating system is Linux. It's not used as much, but it's more for technical people use Linux. Then the storage, now read the storage, John, and it says OBS Studio primarily saves recording on your computer's local storage. Another local storage, if I asked you again, John, is it primary or secondary? What would you say? What's local storage here?
Primary. No. Secondary.
What do you think, Colin? Local storage. When he
Secondary.
Secondary, because it's saving. Put the word, see, John, put in your word saving. The word saving is equivalent to secondary storage. Put that in your notes. When you say you're going to save it, you don't save anything to RAM. When you're using an application, that application, when I'm going to be using Word or Excel or PowerPoint, the operating system makes a copy of that program and puts it into RAM. But the word save automatically says, John, what? Primary or secondary?
Secondary.
Secondary. Wow. Okay. Then he goes into the cost. Meaning, why do people like OBS? He says it's free. There's no subscription fees or hidden costs. And the pros he lists and the cons. Excellent, excellent. And then in the individual, we have Loom. One of the things about Loom that you want to be able to see here is the time constraint. And in this case, you should then emphasize how long can you make the recordings. So that needs to be here on the cons here. And then Franco, the program windows, what are the supported storage? So this one, they have a website or as a file on your computer, free and trial based. I don't know, in this case, Franco, is Franco here? Franco,
I'm right here. Yeah.
Good, Franco, how are you? Listen,
doing good.
Franco,
Thanks for
when you
asking.
say trial based, what does that mean?
Trial based is that you pay like a monthly subscription.
So put how much you pay. So when you see here trial based, how long can you, it's free. Is it completely free or is it just trial based completely free? How many days can I try it out and what are the prices? Do you
Well,
understand?
yeah, you can use it like as a free version and you can like buy it
Oh.
as well.
Okay, so you want to
we
tell
have
the difference
these two
between
options.
this is for everybody, Franco, not just to you. You want to be able to tell when you go back and look at it is in the free version. One is free and one is paid. Usually the free version has limitations. Like Loom for students has 5 minutes and you only can do 25 videos, I found out. So you want to know that difference. It may be good enough for us. 5 minutes, I don't need to record anymore. I'll just, if I have 15 minutes, I'll break it down to 3 parts. Sometimes that's even better. So when it says free and trial based, you want to be able to say, what do you get for free? What are the limitations basically for free? Is it because I get a watermark? And the pros and then the cons. And if you haven't done it for now, at least it doesn't prevent you, put after you've done all those corrections, you can correct it now. Now, let me show you what else. So this was just, this is excellent, right? And in Andrew, I would emphasize, Andrew Cumble, I would emphasize in Loom is what is the difference between the free version versus the paid version? And then I have here, right, that I can even see here in group here, we have, great. So we have here in group 5, Spencer, right? Living, Taylor, Sebastian, perfect. And then if I go into the screen folder, right, they have the group, what's happened in the group, and the same thing. Beautiful. Spencer, great job. You see here, Spencer, in terms of the operating, he even lists which numbers, right? Windows 11, 10, 8, the video, the storage options. So cloud, Wondershare has a drive and also the computer's local storage. And in this case, Spencer, local storage primary or secondary?
Secondary.
Look at that, Spencer. Great. Okay, beautiful job, right? And look how nicely then, in this case, Spencer, you did in terms of the plans, the cross-popular, perpetual, is there any, and then the free trial version. The only thing, Spencer, how long is the free trial version? Is it forever?
It's 30 days.
So put that in. Just add it right now. That's the beauty here, because free trial version may, if it were 90 days, Spencer, it would be good enough for the class. Or maybe I could use 30 days and maybe use another email or something. to get it for the whole class, if you really liked it, you know, in Wondershare. And the same thing with Taylor. Loom, excellent, Taylor, up to 25 videos per person, up to 5 minutes. So this may be enough for the class. Right, Taylor? Taylor, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, Taylor. So you want to move your camera down so we see? You see you? Okay, great. So in this case, it's the same thing here. I would just put the business package and it includes unlimited videos. This may be, you know, if we're a business, right? $12.50 is pretty good anyways for unlimited videos and video recording. And then the idea here is, where can I store it? So the idea here that we need to enter also, make sure that you add that, Taylor, is we want to go through this where even follow Spencer's lead here of the operating system, the supported files, and where does it store it? Where does Loom store it? Taylor, did you figure it out?
Yeah, so it's to the cloud with the free version, but then you can download it once you purchase the business
Okay, do
version.
you state that here?
That's in my cons, I think, and I
Okay, I
talked
would
about
put it in
that.
storage. I would put a separate one right here. Just even do it after you do, you know, like the start, you know, the operating supported storage can be downloaded locally after automatically uploading to your Zoom cloud. And basically you get a channel in Loom. And what's the advantage here? You may want to state here is then you can share an entire channel or you can share just one video. And instead of sending that video, what can you do is you just give it a URL, a link, and then they can see it. So I would just make that a little bit stronger, but perfect, Taylor. Very nice. And Liming Way, the same thing. Very good. And Drake, Camtasia with the costs, and Sebastian, Seb, perfect. All operating except Windows 10. So it doesn't work in Windows 10. He's already saying that. Free plan as well. Excellent. Now, if I go to another group, so I have in another group, if I go to group 6, we have again here, right? Excellent, who used everything. So QuickTime, Loom, Vimeo, and ScreenPal. And Dylan explains difficulties. I was not able to upload the recording I made through QuickTime because the file exceeded 500 meg maximum. Where's he trying to upload it? He's trying to upload it to Blackboard. So what I've asked Dylan, and if you had that same problem, is contact Blackboard and ask them, I have a role of teaching assistant, right? Colin, you've been upgraded, so you can upload to Blackboard. You have a role of teaching assistant. How do I upload a file greater than 500 meg? Is there a way to do it? And probably one way probably to do is to create like a zip file to compress that file so that can be uploaded. So you see how what we were talking about before, John, the idea of the operating system, why the operating system is important, why primary and secondary is going to be important, and also where if I'm dealing locally, sometimes it's called locally. Sometimes, let me make that a note on my part, right? That sometimes secondary storage is called saved locally. Sometimes it's called saved on premise. But the key here, John, is saved, right? Because we want it to remain. Now, if I go file, save, I'm going to pick on you, John. I'm going file, save as. You'll never forget this, huh, John? Save as. Am I saving it to primary or to secondary?
I would say secondary.
Okay, look at that. Confidence, right? And do you want to replace it? I say yes. Replace it. They will never say in RAM, you want to replace it. RAM is going to be volatile. What it is, RAM is so quick, you can do all your functions there, but then you have to save it to another part of the computer. And who saves it to the other part of the computer? Is whom? Is the operating system. You see that, Spencer? The operating system takes care of that. It's basically kind of the overview. Think about it. It operates the entire system. What's the system? The computer. Saves it to my drives, brings a copy from my drives into RAM. I want to print, it'll print. I want to upload, I want to go use my browser. All of that is what? Operating as a system. Okay. So what's next? So next is we have to figure out what are we going to have to do for next time. So any questions on this? Our next work will be looking at data. And we'll be looking at how to manipulate data. We got plenty of data and how to manipulate data, how to forecast with data. And we'll be using probably stock market data because that's the king of big data. Everybody hear about big data before, Spencer? What is your major? Remind me again.
I'm accounting.
Do you have data in accounting? Plenty,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And basically the idea, I think, in accounting, are you just an accounting major or you're a joint major?
Just accounting.
Okay. And accounting, really accounting, I think AI is going to be a tremendous influence in accounting. You see it yourself, Spencer?
Yeah.
In what way?
And mostly with like inputting all the data and all of that stuff.
Inputting, basically understanding the data.
Mm.
For a lot of people, for financial statements, they're not sure what, teaching them about financial statements, teaching whether business is viable, being able to do forecasting. A lot of, and does accounting have rules? Have you taken any accounting yet, Spencer?
Lots of rules.
Lots of
Lots
rules.
of them.
Are rules, is it easy then to instruct a computer to follow rules? Yes. It's a lot harder for the computer to be creative. It's a lot more, it's more difficult for the computer to not follow rules, just to think on its own, to improve on its own. It needs data, it needs to find patterns, and if you can give it rules, it does really well. So a lot of times we'll talk about it. Have you ever heard the word algorithm, Spencer?
Yeah.
An algorithm are steps to do a task. And all the time accounting is just beautiful for the rules to do a task, right? So I see the future for you in accounting. If you ever go, if you continue in there, it's basically you'll have a number of AI assistants, almost accounting assistants that will help you. And you'll be basically, hopefully, the director of all those assistants. But then you won't have to go into the weeds and do a lot of tedious, basically calculations that the computer can do a better job than you could. But in terms of being able of the nuances to see where the trends are, you'll be working with it, hopefully. Okay, so we'll be doing some, so you'll be helping us as well. Thank you, Spencer. So we got this. Anything else? Anybody that wants me to look at their group, particularly, I'll look at it later, but I'm giving you a chance, giving you feedback that you can update. If you haven't put in your work, you can update. But in terms here, even if I go to a group 10, right? Group 10 needs that front end, right? That if I looked at the front end, they can even do that now. There's no reason, in this case, Rachel, Naz, Kate, and Mohammed, that they can't do basically what the other groups have done. It's put in their names and put in their programs that they had in their folders. They've done it at this point, right? But they haven't all even put that up. The other thing is here is for this one, for Naz, for instance, even here, the Loom platform, I would put the program that you're using, the program name here, even though I see it here, Loom platform, I would put it right there. Besides just your name, I would put your name right there for Kate as well, where you have the program bit. I would even put it with that, along with your name. So you can look at the other groups. That's the beauty here. Why do we call it the audit section? As in the audit section, you can basically audit other groups. Just like Spencer, there's an auditor, right? You know, auditing is a thing that basically the computer then can help audit too, right? If you give it the rules, what we're looking for that under screencasting, we have who's attended, and next to it should be the names of the programs. The computer, once we train it, it should be able to do that. So if you want full credit for that, that needs to be done. Okay, next, going back, and if you go to the institutional page, always, you'll see here the number of platforms. So if you have problems with Blackboard, of uploading, of your files being too small, just give them a call. And they have really great hours in the terms that they're even Saturday and Sunday, and also after this class. So we'll be able to do that as well. The next thing under courses, let me go to BTE-GH. Under what's due, everybody go to what's due. And let me turn this off so I see the same thing that you do. So we know what's due today. Let me go here, make available. And Spencer, do you see on make available, do you see September 20th?
I do.
Good. So on September 20th, it says so that's a week from Wednesday, it says that we need to we're going to go to chapter 5 in the book. That's data. And we all can figure out what's data. We have an adaptive assignment that's due, that's data. And we have a quiz that's due, that we always think about the quiz that's due in data. And we have a PowerPoint. And I have a couple of articles for you to read. So before we even get into the couple of articles that I want you to read, I want to, first of all, go to assignments and quizzes. And under quizzes, I have to give you chapter 5. I want to edit the test options just to make sure. I'm going to show the test. I'm going to open the test. I'm going to make it available to you. I'll make an announcement. I'll allow 2 attempts. Some of you have been telling me, you do worse on the second time than the first time. The second time counts. So pay attention when you do this the second time. I'm not going to force completion. I'm not going to set the timer. The due date is going to be a week from today on Wednesday, and it'll be at 3:30 p.m. right before. And don't wait till the last minute because the servers can be down. I'm including it in the test, and I need to submit. And what's your role then, Spencer? Is check that if does it appear on your quizzes.
Yeah, it's there.
Good. The other one is Wiley Plus. On Wiley Plus, I want to make it available. And on Wiley Plus, I want to go to data management. And we'll be talking about data. Operating system is important, and of course, data is important. How do we deal with big data? So this area of managing data, data approach, big data, I'll be spending time on Monday talking about data warehouses. And then under data assignment, let me edit. It's the chapter, the points possible, right? We can say open a new window, select time, and submit. I'm going to go back into chapter 5. Let's see if I get it. Hang tight, open the assignment. We're opening the assignment, right? Of course, no one has started, right? And in this case, under options, right? I want to edit the assignment. And I want this for practice. These are the points. People were asking if you didn't complete it. This is the chapter. And I want to set a due date. And I want to assign it to my entire class, not just to an individual. I don't want to show favoritism here. And then I want to give it a due date of the 20th. Right, and I want to put the time, let's put the time of 3:30 so we're consistent. Before class, and save. And now you want to go back and see if you have it. Spencer, I'm using you as my assistant today, so do you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. So, the homework then is going to chapter 5, thinking about data, reading about data. You'll also be able to go into the PowerPoints, right, in the 9th edition. And in that 5th one, look at the data. And look at and I can look at, in this case, I could then open. And this case where it would then, it's in my download area and I can then open then chapter 5. Right? So if I say file, open, right? And I say browse, and let's say I just even go to downloads, right? And I look for chapter 5. These downloads, are these stored, Spencer, in primary or secondary storage?
Secondary.
Secondary. And when I'm going now to open it, it's going to open it into primary or to secondary?
Primary.
Primary into RAM. Everything's easy when you know it, right, Spencer? So basically, you'll be able to do it. And then we'll talk about data knowledge, and we'll be talking about it more on Monday. How do you manage data? That's going to be the key. If you're in accounting, right, it's basically you're going to be the chief financial officer, Spencer. You're going to be having to make sure that everyone in your organization has that data and knows how to manage it. And there's something called data governance. Governance sounds like government, that govern. Do you have any clue, Spencer, what data governance is? What that would mean?
Is it just like setting like all the internal standards and everything?
Exactly. Basically, think about that. Is there any data in the university? Let's think about an organization we know. We all know universities. We all have different, I have a different role than you do, right, Spencer? But I'm part of the university, you're part of the university. Does the university have any data on you?
Yeah, major.
It has your
gender,
name,
everything.
right?
Mhm.
It has your name, it has your address, it has your C number, it has your grades. You live on the
I don't.
Oh, don't. So it's going to be able, your address where I'm going to be able to do those people that have, those people that live on campus, it's going to have this. Do you drive, Spencer, to campus?
No,
What do you do?
I
You
walk.
Great. So you're walking there. You have a bike?
Mm-mm.
No, some people even when the bike, they're going to be registering it. When for admissions, you have it. It has a lot of data. So the question is, what does it mean, data governance? For the university admissions office, there's somebody in the admissions office, and let's say you were the CFO of the entire university. You're saying, who's in charge of admitting these students, and are they up to date? And what's really important for you as Spencer, as the CFO of the university, is what? The revenues, right? Where are you going to get revenues? Is from the tuition. Does that have to be organized? Yes. Does somebody have to be in charge, right? Who gets the data? Where's it going to be put in? And then if, for instance, somebody comes to me as a professor and says, we're looking for a female that's an accounting major who has better than a 3.5 average and is also on the athletic team. There has to be data that I, as a professor, can gain access. You remember that need to know we talked about it? That I can find that data to be able to retrieve, to query the data, to be able to get better decision making. And if you have to see where you're going to cut costs, are you going to make that fountain? Are you going to make a new? Have you seen Lakeside on campus? I think that's beautiful, that Lakeside. Should we make another Lakeside? Well, the question is what? Cost benefit analysis. Even though we are nonprofit, we still have to meet our what? Revenues. When COVID came down and the university shut down and even people couldn't live on campus, do you think the university lost money, Spencer?
Yeah.
Big bucks. And a lot of universities were even trembling here is basically, I got all this real estate. I have to maintain it, right? I get all these revenues from housing, from all the stores here that rent. If nobody's on campus, nobody's making any revenue. So these are areas in which I need to see then the data. So this is where we're going to go. So we'll start looking at data, and then we'll do an exercise next week, Spencer, because that's where we really learn on how to manipulate data. Just reading about it and reading, that's good. And basically asking John, what's the difference between primary and secondary? But what's really important, can he do something, right? Nobody's going to ask John for a job. What does OS stand for, right? What they're going to be able to do is, can you basically find our problems and find solutions, right? Find out what are the problems and how can we solve something, right, John? So that's why we want to do apply things in tech, and we're always going to have issues. So if John is basically supervising a group of IT people, he may not even be the IT person, but they're going to be IT folks underneath him, is that you're going to have them, hey, document your work, because these are issues. Make sure that the users document their work to see where are the problems, and then let's find a solution. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so we had that. We've done that. And then what else I wanted just to let you know is next week, let me go to web links. Next week, there's something called, I mentioned it before, there's something called Smart City. It's in Miami-Dade next week, the 18th through the 20th. And I'm going to be a guest speaker talking about AI chatbots for cities. I help the city of Coral Gables with their technology, advising them. So I'm going to be speaking on Tuesday. So basically you see here, they have what cities are going to be doing with technology and brainstorming, and what smart cities are going to be looking at. And then after the lunch and lunch break from 2 to 2:40, I'm going to be in charge of a panel and also talking about enhancing smart cities with user-friendly AI chatbots. If you would like to go to this conference physically, it's in Miami-Dade, or even for a couple of hours, let me know and I'll give you a code, a free code, because it's $950. It's not, I don't want you to pay $950 when I can get you in complimentary as my guest, as my student, that you can apply. But what I do like here, it'd be interesting for some of you, is the general admission online is free. So you can register online for free, and then you can view any session you'd like. What I'm going to ask, I asked Dylan to see if, and maybe some of your others can volunteer, is to record that session. We can even record it with Zoom. This is online, but I'd like to keep it as permanent so we can record it. So you can record it, but you have that opportunity. Anything that I work with in terms of companies and technology, I love to share it with you. I think anything that if you're interested in, if I can share it with you, it will be available. Okay, so any other questions? I think I can stop sharing. So what I'd like to do is make sure that everybody, even finish it up today, everybody that's seen, you see what is good as a model, what your screencasting should look like. You can basically even finish that up to today. And then for next Wednesday, those of you, sometimes I like even, it's good to have it done by Monday, the homework. And then there's a couple of readings, there's a couple of articles we're going to start reading and getting into data. So once we now, why did I do these first two exercises? I did these first two exercises because guess what? We're going to use new software. And guess what, Andrew David? It's going to have issues. And what do you want to do? When you figure it out, Andrew David, all you have to do is say, hey, I got a little screencast for 2 or 3 minutes, I'll show you how to do it. Or somebody else says, I can't figure this out. This is what you do. And you can just look at it for 2 or 3 minutes and say, oh, you forgot to connect to the data feed. If we don't do that, then we're all going to be lost for, the next 8 weeks or 10 weeks, just trying to find how do we connect to the data feed. And I want to go beyond that and even look at how AI is going to help us and get our skills and do that. So we'll look at some automated trading systems, some algorithms, just even the idea, even if you never want to go into that field, AI is going to take over and be an assistant in that field. So right now, quant traders beginning salaries are around 250,000. So that's pretty good, huh? So let's do attendance. I'll stay with you. If you have questions. I have to check in. And then once you take attendance, you can leave. If you need to see me. 5112. And Spencer, thank you for helping me. John, I appreciate you taking the brunt of primary and secondary, really. We got it. That's the main thing, because, I can say it, and then unless I get feedback from you, I have no idea, right? And you thought you knew it, right? And each time, so that's it. So trust, when I'm picking on people, you get participation credit. So think about it that way. You know what I mean? Not
Thank you, Professor.
Credit. You know what I mean? That you think about it in good terms.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay. It's positive. Okay, great. Franco, is okay? You're doing okay, Franco?
Yes, I just need to check in my attendance.
Okay, check it. Did you get the
Yeah.
number? 5112?
Yeah. I just went to the audit section instead of the other section.
Perfect. Okay. So you have to just kind of keep track. So do you have issues? So you understand the feedback I was giving you today?
Yes, Professor. Professor, I have a question.
Sure.
So regarding the dynamic of the class, are we gonna have a class in which we only see content, or are we gonna go through the exercises like we normally do?
I didn't understand the first part of your question. Repeat it.
So are we gonna go through a class where we see content, the stuff we read on Wiley Plus? Because it normally starts by going through the exercises that we did with our group.
So what do you want from me? You want me to lecture more? Is that what you want?
No, I'm just trying to find out how would the dynamic will be in the future classes.
It will be like what we did today, like what we did yesterday. What
Okay.
what would you like?
I was just wondering, Professor. No, I think that we
Give
could,
me feedback now. It's better to give me feedback now. What would you know what I mean? Rather than
maybe
in
more-
the end of the semester. So what would you like?
maybe
let's
more
see.
shows the content that we read in the book rather than just going through the exercises.
Okay, so you want me to review it before you go through the Wiley or after?
I think after it's good,
Okay, so
because I feel these exercises we can sort them out by ourselves.
okay,
And,
fine.
of course, it's good if we have feedback. Yes.
Okay, but
definitely.
don't take the
But,
time on that. Okay, I agree with you.
Don't
I
take too
just
much
want to
time
make
on
sure that everything is perfect.
Yeah.
I take your
Just my opinion, Professor.
no,
Of course,
it's
it's your
good.
class and
No, I think
you
so. It's good. Right.
Yeah. Okay,
I
Professor.
just
well,
wanted to
then
make
have-
sure everybody got it right. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
I spent too much time on where I
Yeah,
didn't.
on exercises.
Right,
And,
right. And those students that
Because-
don't do it, that's their problem.
I'm really interested into learning say CPU and the
Yeah,
parts
okay,
of the
fine,
computer and
perfect,
try to
perfect,
understand
perfect. Perfect.
systems better rather than just
Okay,
like
fine.
going through
I
the
accept it.
exercises.
Excellent. Extra
Okay,
credit.
thank
Extra
you.
credit.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
See you next class.
Bye. Consumption. Stop recording.